Being in a situation in a toxic environment, I never want to be that leader or person that forces a person to leave a position. I don't want my employees to run away from me because they say people don't leave jobs, they leave leaders. I never want to be that leader because I know what it's like.
Who doesn't want to be a great leader? A leader who's calm under pressure, insightful, respected, well-liked. But what does it take to become a great leader? Hey, I'm Boo, and welcome to my podcast. The Few Leadership Podcast defines great leadership and what great leadership looks like. And I've found some of the world's best leaders or experts in the field of leadership to help you accelerate your leadership journey so you can be an ace at the game of leadership. If you're ready to rethink everything you know about leadership, if you're excited about accelerating your leadership journey, let's strap in and ignite your leadership potential. All right, welcome back, leaders, to another episode of the Few Leadership Podcast, the speaker series with me, Boo. Man, I've just been loving this podcast. I'm meeting so many awesome people, having some phenomenal conversations, and really we're starting to build a great picture of what the future of leadership looks like and what some of the challenges are. If you're enjoying it, don't forget to like the podcast on whatever platform you're watching it. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and importantly, leave a review. Preferably a 5-star, but hey, it's up to you. And the more energy we create within the podcast, the easier it is to get amazing guests like our guest today, Kym Ali. Kym, how are you doing? Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Boo, for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Kym, you're kind of like one of my favorite people. My mum was a nurse, and she was a theater nurse back in the day where she went to college and was just a room full of women straight out of high school, learning how to look after people. And she is literally the most caring, empathetic, gentle human on earth. I think the world has so much to learn from nurses. And that was kind of your origin story a little bit, right?
Absolutely. I started off as a maternity nurse, so helping women through one of the most important times of their lives, delivering a baby. I've been a nurse. I can't believe I'm saying this, but for 20 years now, they give nursing licenses to 2-year-olds, just so you know.
Wow. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And you're now you're very much in the well-being human-centric space, right? In helping organizations kind of get back to, hey, it's important to care about your people. It's important that they feel safe. With what you're doing with your consulting business in the market at the moment, what are you seeing as some of the biggest challenge for leadership with all the chaos going on in the world, with all the technology we're starting to use? What are you seeing at the coalface?
Oh my goodness. How much time do you have? So
Yeah,
right now, well, up until January, our consulting firm was heavily embedded in the federal government in the United States. Unless you've been under a rock, you know what has been happening within the federal government. So since January, there have been over 275,000 federal employees that have been laid off. There's been agencies that have actually been dismantled, and there are still more on the chopping block. And so with that being said, leaders in the federal government and also private as well are expected to do more with less resources and less support. And so needless to say, that is leading to demotivation, burnout, lack of trust, poor psychological safety within organizations. And so those are some of the challenges that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be very human-centric, Doge, in the approach to HR management. I mean, that must be pretty confronting. I mean, that's kind of a big, these kind of situations are those big life moments where it's like so big and so dramatic. And I guess when it comes to working in government, people are used to that being the safe place to work, right? That you've got a job for life. That it must be incredibly dislocating for people in terms of their identity,
Yes.
in terms of what happens next.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you help people through that? And one of our clients was a big federal agency as well, so we got doged like almost instantly.
Oh, wow. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're all riding that wave. But how does that also feel? I mean, as a coach and as somebody who's there to help, your inability to do that now, knowing when help is most needed. I mean, how are you kind of dealing with that?
That's a great question. So I'll back up a little bit to about 5 years ago. I was working as a nurse in a country called Qatar. I'm sure most people know where that is now because of the most recent events. But
Yeah.
I moved there to open the country's first women and children's hospital. And long story short, after about living there for 5 years, I was terminated from my position. And so here's the caveat. Yeah. So here's the caveat to that. When you are,
Because I mean, it's a good position, right? Like when you work in Qatar, the UAE, in the Gulf states, it's a pretty good job, and there's not a lot of tax going on, and
yes,
there's pretty good compensation.
I loved it. I loved it. But here's the drawback to that, Boo, is that here in the United States, we have employee labor rights, right? We have EEO attorneys. And so there are laws that protect workers. In the Middle East, that doesn't exist. And so you can get, if someone doesn't like, I have on red glasses. If someone doesn't like my red glasses, they can terminate me, for any
Yeah.
reason. And so the caveat to that is that despite the perks, there are some drawbacks. So I was there for 5 years. And so that was my home. I had no intentions of leaving. So I had a credit card and I had a car loan. Well, when you are terminated, you have to pay back everything.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. And so I had about, between my credit card and car loan, I had about 30,000 US dollars in debt that I had to pay back. And until you pay it back, you have a travel ban placed on you. So even if I attempted to go.
Was this, could you like see this bus coming, or was it just like, oh, bang?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And so even if I attempted to leave the country, immigrations would have detained me because I had the travel ban placed on me. Yeah. So I had to transfer. It was just a mess. But anyway, I'm sharing this with the listeners because I've lost before. I know what it's like to lose everything that you have attached your identity to and have to rebuild. Fast forward now, 5 years later.
But sorry, just because it's just popped in my head. I'm sorry, my ADHD sometimes kicks in. But it's also rejection, right? Like it is literally like, going to a bar, seeing someone you like, and then like when you're terminated, you can't help but have that feeling of there's something wrong with me, where it's not really that at all.
Yes.
I mean, tell me how you dealt with all of that, having a financial burden, feeling personally rejected, trapped in a country that you just cannot leave. I mean, most people would crumble under that. That's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot. And thank you for bringing that up. So it gets even better. 2 weeks after I came back to the States, my niece passed away at college. So now you're talking about a death. And I almost had a nervous breakdown, to be honest with you. And so because I wasn't working, I didn't have insurance. So I wasn't able to go to therapy because I just couldn't afford it out of pocket. And the little bit of money that I had left, I said, you know what? I'm going to invest in myself. And so what I did was I took a mental health first aid training course. And just the principles from that course helped me get back on track to healing myself. And Boo, I told myself, you know what? This was a very traumatic event, and I will never work for any organization again in my life. And my mission, the reason why I was put on this earth, is to equip leaders to make sure that their employees feel seen, heard, and safe. And so that's how I started my business.
It's interesting you say that. Yesterday, I mentor a leader who's actually the head of leadership in an incredibly high-profile brand. And I was speaking to him yesterday. I'm like, hey, mate, how you doing? And he said, I'm not doing great. I'm like, why? And he goes, I'm the head of leadership, but the leaders of the whole organization aren't open for development, and I can't develop anyone else. I feel like I'm in a hopeless situation. I feel like I'm not seen.
Yes.
I feel like I'm not heard. I get 15 minutes with my manager every 6 weeks.
Yes.
And I just have no idea what I'm doing. And this brand is a old school brand. It's been around for a while. So one of the things I want to ask you about is, what can he do? What does he do in that situation?
Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like he's getting the support that he needs internally inside of this organization, which is unfortunate. However, I would advise him to seek external resources. So I don't know if this individual has a mentor. Maybe he can lean in or find a mentor who, okay.
He found one. Sounds like I'm not doing a very good job.
Yeah, but there's plenty of options. So mentor in conjunction with the coach or even a therapist. If things are to the point where he starts to feel hopeless, I would recommend even getting therapy. It might be time to look for another employer. There are situations where the chapter might be ending and it's time to start a new chapter.
I just want to deep dive into something you just said. There's a difference between mental health, mental fitness, and well-being, right? Like when you talk about, often we do the self-work and the therapy, and I've done it myself, 20 years ago when I had PTSD from living in Afghanistan and the Middle East for too long. It's not till something breaks that we do the work. And I think there's a preventative side to this. I think we only become aware of it because it's hurting ourselves or someone else.
Yes.
But I think there is a way of being aware of it or self-aware before that.
Yes.
How do we do that though? I mean, these are one of the things that I think we hear a lot of stuff, but we how do I do that? So when you talk about well-being in the workplace, I guess most humans react to when it's not good and then they do it, right? Rather than go, oh, it's all good. How do you, let's use ADPE. So explain ADPE and how a leader, I know that's what you do, but I would assume that also once you do that, it's something a leader could do, right? Why don't you walk through your kind of 4-step process there for us into how we can be human-centric? I think human-centricity is the biggest challenge for the next 5 years with AI, digital, phones, social media, being fed bullshit all day. Maybe if you can walk through, the ADPE side, that might give the leaders listening an idea of how they might be able to get a barometer for the well-being of their team.
Absolutely. So ADPE stands for assess, diagnose, prescribe, and evaluate. And how we came up with that framework is because one, my nursing background, this is healthcare.
Feel a bit of that in there. Yep.
Yeah. So we do this in healthcare. This is healthcare best practice. Why I brought it into consulting is because in the federal government, we were competing against the big boys, the Deloittes, the Accentures, the KPMGs. And so we needed to distinguish ourselves from them. And so one of the competitive advantages about being small is that you can actually come into an organization and assess. You can listen to leaders. You can listen to employees. You can look at data like exit interviews, employee surveys. We don't believe in cookie cutter off the shelf solutions, which is what you get with these large management consulting firms. And so once we assess, we do a deep dive, we talk to people, we do road shows, we look at current data, then we can diagnose. I'll give you a perfect example. One agency I was working with, we were brought in to do communication. She thought it was trust. They originally brought us in because trust was low and people didn't feel safe psychologically. Okay. However, after going in and assessing, talking to people, we discovered, well, it wasn't lack of trust. It was poor communication because the team was hybrid. So once we identified, we gave them a diagnosis, then we were able to go back and prescribe a solution specifically for the team and the challenges that they were experiencing. We implemented, we came back and we evaluated what's working, what's not working, how far are we away from meeting our goals. And so those are some of the benefits of using that framework. And it's not necessarily exclusive to organizations. You can use that for people. And so when you talk about, well-being and health, in nursing, we always say that health is the absence of disease. And that's where we're programmed to function. As long as we don't have the symptoms, we are fine. But it takes a while for the symptoms to manifest. I always say when you start seeing symptoms, it's too late. And so well-being is functioning at optimal levels, right? We just don't want to be absent from disease. We want to ensure that we can function at peak performance.
If you're enjoying the show, I'd just like to ask of you a little favor. We're on a mission here to ignite the world's leadership potential. We need to reach out to as many leaders as we possibly can. So if you're enjoying the show, I just ask you to leave a review, to subscribe, to help introduce this podcast to other leaders to join you on your journey to flawless leadership. We're going to head back to the episode now. I hope you've enjoyed what you've learned today. Please remember, Let's ignite a movement of flawless leaders. Subscribe, leave a review. Let's get back to the show. And I think often when you're in an organization, you take certain things for granted. And what I really love about the medical profession, particularly I went to hospital once, like when I broke my leg 20 years ago, and all of a sudden I got COVID, and I've got long COVID. I'm getting heart things. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So I'm in hospital a lot, But one of the things that I love about that environment is the care of the patient comes first.
Yeah.
The decision making is all about the care of the patient, right? I think that's a great metaphor for leaders as well. In that the care of your people comes first,
Yes.
and the decision making is people first. And you call that you call that empathy. You call that human-centric. We hear this word empathy a lot, and I think a nurse has really great insight into what empathy actually is. The practice of empathy. Can you unpack, how a leader? Because businesses, let's be honest, I mean, it's financially driven. You're going to get results. Empathy tends to take a back seat. But how can someone, and I'm constantly told I'm not very empathetic, so just talk to me on this. How do I be more empathetic? Like, what do I do to be a great human-centric, empathetic leader?
Yeah. I always tell people the easiest way is to meet people where they are. Put yourself in their shoes and say, for example, let's say you just hired, I don't know, a new VA to help with your podcast editing, right? I would meet them at their level. Have you ever done this before? What tools are you used to using? Is this tool familiar to you? What support do you need? Are you comfortable telling me that you need help? Some people are afraid to ask for help. And as a leader, if it's not working, I try not to blame the individual. I always look at, okay, where did I fail them? Did I not communicate the task properly? Are they uncomfortable using the tools and resources? Is there something going on at home that's preventing them from show up as their best selves? All of us experience life at some point, right? And it affects our performance. And so I never want to being in a situation in a toxic environment. I never want to be that leader or person that forces a person to leave a position. I don't want my employees to run away from me because they say people don't leave jobs, they leave leaders. I never want to be that leader because I know what it's like.
And I guess for a leader, what that must feel like is people aren't talking to you very often.
Yeah.
They're not having human conversations.
Yeah.
It's all work conversations. Yeah. Everything just feels like work all the time. I mean, there's a real blessing in having a human conversation, isn't there? It's hard to do on Zoom, and we do a lot of annual events, and there's nothing more amazing than seeing 300 people from an organization in the same room together, connecting at a human level. I'm going to ask you a question because this is specific to you, and it's got nothing to do with what you speak on, but it's a deeply human experience. So sorry for blindsiding you here, and you don't have to answer. As a maternity nurse, you must have been in a position where someone has experienced a deep loss in terms of a 9-month, 8-month, 6-month preparation up to the point where they're bringing, their legacy into the world. They're bringing another human being into the world, and then that doesn't happen, and they lose the baby. As someone in that moment, and as a leader dealing with someone with loss, I remember having 4 of my people killed in an accident when I was in my mid-30s, and that phone call is a bad phone call, but I wasn't there. You're there. If a leader is dealing with someone that's experiencing loss or someone who has had or grief, what have you seen kind of work and not work, and how can we be prepared for that moment?
Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness. So it's 2 parts. One experience is work related, one's personal. So work experience, I was a brand new nurse. I don't think I had been in the profession for 6 months. Until this day, I don't know why they gave me this patient. But I had a mom who had a fetal demise. Baby was stillborn, didn't make it. And they gave it to me. And of course, being a young nurse, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. And what made it worse is that she was in labor, I think, for 20 hours. The baby wasn't coming. And then she had to do a C-section. So I get her. She's in pain. She's uncomfortable. And because, I was afraid to say the wrong thing, I avoided her. And when I got home, it was night shift. When I got home that morning, I realized what I did. And I felt horrible. And I said, oh my goodness, here is a woman just lost her first baby. I'm her nurse. I'm supposed to be there to care for her, and I ignore her. I'm causing her more trauma. So what I did, I called the hospital. I asked the hospital, the operator, to transfer me to her room. And I apologized. And I was off the next day, but I went to the hospital to visit her. I brought her flowers. I brought her a card to apologize. And I just sat there and listened. And she told me, you know what you did meant so much to me, and I will never forget you for this. And so when I say, so that's the first story. Second story is personal. I lost my mom last August, so it'll be a year next month. And as a small business growing, we don't have bereavement days. We can't afford to take off and grieve. And my clients didn't care. They wanted deliverables when they were due. My mother passed away. I had to get on a flight that night to do a speaking engagement because I was afraid to cancel because I would miss out on an opportunity. And so I would just say, just show empathy. You don't necessarily have to have the right words, but just listen, acknowledge them, give them space to grieve. If it means taking a day off, so be it. But by you ignoring them or by you not acknowledging it at all because you're afraid to say the wrong thing, you're actually doing more damage than good.
So I think the real takeaway there, correct me if I'm misphrasing this, is don't avoid a bad situation. Second, you don't have to have the answers.
Right.
They're not looking for leadership. They're not looking to be led out of the situation. And if you just listen,
yes,
you are providing an inordinate amount of value and empathy to that human being.
Absolutely.
You know, I love deconstructing these words because they're always out there, like vulnerability, empathy, human-centric, and people are like, yeah, we're human-centric leaders. Why haven't you hit your targets? And it's like, whoa, you know, they're not buzzword. There's real meaning. There's real meaning behind these words. Now that life experience, how has that shaped your learning experience now that you're in that more corporatized environment? You know, a hospital is a very, very organized place. Everything is measured, checked, balanced. And no doubt when you work in an organization, you see an enormous absence of those disciplines. So what are you learning about business that you think, gosh, if only they did it like
this way?
Right.
Yeah. It's right. That is a great question. I'm learning more about the people in the business. I'm learning that people are afraid of change. People are resistant to change because the number one threat to humans is uncertainty. People, even if something's not working, that's okay. This is what I know. I know it's inefficient, but I want to keep doing what I know as opposed to change. And so what I'm learning is that you have to introduce small steps, give people small wins so that way they can see that it works. Once you get that small win under your belt, it gives you the momentum and confidence to take on more tasks and changes.
And I think that's really important, you know, because even a shift as a nurse, what we would call a mission as a fighter pilot, within there is a win, right? You know exactly what needs to happen. You do it, you leave, and you feel, you know, what I did today mattered because I did what I knew I had to do. And I think in the corporate space, the bit which is this is what I need to do is pretty vague and open to interpretation and to be honest, open to change when a leader just has a big idea and says, you know what, let's do it this way, let's do it this way. I mean, I can imagine if you're a maternity nurse and every day you rocked up, it was a completely different way in which to deliver a baby and how to take vitals. You know, it would just be chaos. I mean, it's probably why mortality rates were so bad many years ago before all this came into play. Okay, Kym, we're coming towards the end of the podcast now, and we're looking for a little bit of Kym Ali magic here. So here I am. I'm a leader. I love all these words. I want to be like you. I do care about my people. Just give me 3 things I can do when I get off the podcast so I can be a human-centric leader that cares about my team's well-being.
Absolutely. I would follow the ADPE framework. So.
Okay, 4 things. 4's good. Yep, even there's one extra bit of value right there.
Absolutely, a bonus, right? Well, maybe not evaluate until you do it. So yeah, I'll give you 3. So you want to assess your well-being. Where are you? It might be a period in your life where it's time to move on. If you feel that you can still make changes within your organization, assess where you are and assess who are the people, what are the resources, and how can they help me push this initiative through, right? Then after you look at where you are, then you want to identify, okay, is there lack of trust in my organization? Do we need to change our strategy because the market and climate is changing, right? So you want to identify what needs to be done. And then you want to put milestones behind your strategy. Then you actually want to lay out your plan, but you want to get buy-in. If you don't have buy-in from senior leadership, if your employees, first of all, employees always believe in the leader, not the vision. You have to get your team to believe in you, and you have to influence them to follow your goals and your vision. So you want to make sure you get buy-in from the team. That's the only way it will work. After that, then you come back and see if you hit your goals.
It's kind of easy, right?
It sounds easy in theory, right?
You're not saying, hey, read a book here. It's like just follow the bouncing ball. And as a result, you'll get what you want, which is to be a people-centric leader that actually cares about its people. Kym, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you're very generous with your time. I know you're busy. If someone's driving their car on the train right now and they can't scroll down into the show notes, and all Kym's details are below in the show notes, how can someone find you to have them come in and work with you?
Sure. Hop on over to LinkedIn. I'm very active. Just connect with me and send me a DM, and I would love to connect with you.
Awesome. And that's Kym Ali, folks. Kym, thanks again. I really appreciate you coming on the Few Leadership Podcast.